If there's one thing that we have learned from this whole Squadron 42 that needs to be read on video debacle is that they're really within the Star Citizen community a profound interest for Star Citizen's single-player counterpart, and that backers really crave for more updates and tidy bits of information that they can get their hands on regarding their future adventures within the UEE Navy. And recently on Reddit, there has been a buzz about the possibility of a Squadron 42 Prelude possibly being released this year. People of the verse, hello and welcome to the channel. It's the Eradicator, and in this video we will discuss why the idea of a Squadron 42 Prelude is a good idea and how it can be done and whether or not it is feasible and, dare I say, thinkable. Now, so first things first, guys, the idea of a Squadron 42 Prelude being released this year was originally mentioned on this very channel 7 months ago in my predictions for 2020 video, which, by the way, has gotten quite a few things right, but I'll put a link in the description down below if you're interested. And so, back then, I sketched the idea that perhaps the first chapter of the game could be released earlier than the rest of the game in order to save CIG's face with something that would eventually allow them to say something like, hey, you know, we stated that we would deliver Squadron 42 in 2020, and we actually delivered something regarding Squadron 42 in 2020. So this is something that could allow CIG to say that. Now, this is in my eyes, what a hypothetical Squadron 42 Prelude should be. A short 1 or 2 hour experience of what the entire campaign is going to be without spoiling the plot, or at least giving away just enough plot elements to keep players excited and eager to wait a few extra months or years until it eventually gets released. I also don't think that such a prelude should be a separate mission, independent from the campaign itself. And the reason for that is that we simply don't have time nor resources to allocate to that, and it would just be a waste at this point. Just like the old voice and scripted tutorial was also a waste back in the days, for those of you who remember it. The first chapter would thus be ideal because no matter what, it has to be done, and it would not divert much time and resources away from the project, while at the same time, it won't reveal too much of the campaign itself. Now, I often compare our Squadron 42 and Star Citizen duo with Kingdom Come Deliverance, which, by the way, is a great game that I absolutely love. And both games had their crowdfunding campaign happening roughly at the same time, and both games appealed to very passionate players in need of genres that would not necessarily popular at that time, and both games promised alpha and beta access to their titles, and Kingdom Come Deliverance, being a single-player game, only delivered an alpha and a beta experience that was, of course, much different than the alpha that we are having right now when it comes to our infant persistence universe in Star Citizen. However, during Kingdom Come Deliverance alpha and beta phases, we were given access to a fraction of the final release's actual game world. And despite how limited the game environment was, there was still plenty of things to do, like exploring, hunting, trading, and of course doing various quests. Now, sure, the experience ended up being far from how it really was once the game launched, but it hooked a lot of players, including myself, into the game, and it allowed players to have a taste of the game. It allowed players to test game mechanics as well as questlines benchmarks that gave the devs some valuable feedback about what could be tweaked before launch, and then be able to provide players with a better experience in the end. And in the end, releasing a game, or I should say releasing a prelude to Squadron 42, or even better, its first chapter only, is not going to end up being the game greatest advocate, but it could also provide the devs with valuable information that would allow them to deliver an even better product. And this is something that is in fact a concern when you take a look at how differently Squadron 42 and Star Citizen are being treated when it comes to transparency and how frequent information is being delivered to the backers. Now, sure, our feedback from Star Citizen must definitely be helping as far as game mechanics go, but story-wise, it has been nearly impossible to give any feedback or whatsoever, simply because the last thing that we've seen from Squadron 42 is the vertical slice that you are seeing right here, by the way, in the B-roll of this video, which was shown to us over 2.5 years ago as I am making this video. Now, that is, of course, an eternity, and I am sure that Squadron must have evolved into something that it must have quite a bit since the footage that we are seeing right now, and unfortunately we have not been able to give any feedback, and I think that a Prelude will be able to fix that. Hey Mike, how are you doing? My weekend's been all right. I was on vacation and I'm back. I'm back with the live stream with you guys. Now let's talk about how that Prelude, that early release of Squadron 42 could be feasible. And I think that here we'll start with the obvious by saying that this is probably not something that they've been working on, but at the same time, you know, if this is something that they've not been working on, then of course there is no way that this is going to be released by the end of the year. However, given how long they have been working on Squadron 42, it is more than likely that several chapters are already nearing completion. I mean, after all this time, it shouldn't be an unrealistic guess, right? So let's also do remember the now abandoned Squadron 42 roadmap, which also aimed at releasing some form of beta for Squadron 42 this year. Now, of course, the entire game will be in closed beta, with a very strict and tight NDA. That's a given, but I think an hour-long first chapter release to placate impassioned backers like ourselves during Christmas season perhaps is also not something that should totally be excluded, or at least that's the way I see it. But please tell me what you guys think about those Squadron 42 Prelude ideas or rumors that have surfaced on Reddit. Hater, for example, Hater of Star Citizen Leaks is very cautious about them, and he advises people to take them with a serious pinch of salt. This is also something that I encourage people to be very careful with this. Apparently, those sources are saying are not that reliable, but at the same time, I also think that this is something that should be very interesting and, you know, actually not completely that unrealistic. And that's all for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned to the channel for more Star Citizen content. We got a lot more to come. This is the Eradicator. I'll see you guys later. Alright, this is done. How is everybody doing? This was a scripted video. Today's only scripted video. Everything else will be more discussion. I will have more interaction with you guys today. What we just did here was actually tomorrow's video on the channel. I would love a chapter every 2 months. Yes, Dragon Ghost. This is something that actually, that's the thing that I did mention in my 2020 predictions, is that it would make sense. It would make sense if CIG decided to release Squadron 42 chunk by chunks, chapter by chapter, so that they can have more time, that they can finish the first chapter and they have a little bit more time to do chapter 2 and then chapter 3 and so on. I don't see how this would be impossible, but apparently that it looks like they've decided to be as secretive as possible, and they're probably going to do an old school release. So so far there are no signs indicating that they're going to release chapter by chapter, but I think that it would look it would be pretty awesome as well. Alright guys, well that's it here for Squadron 42. We got a lot of things to talk about today, guys.